Okay, so now I am practicing the speech that I plan to give tonight at the event called What I Know Now, a Community Conversation. Okay, welcome. I'm Angelina Siders. Many know me as Ange or Miss Angel or just Angel. But I am Sophia and Dahlia's mom. We're all here tonight because we care about our kids and the mental health of our community. I am here because I think I have information and experiences that may benefit someone. I would like to tell you more about how I got here. But please know, I grieve out loud. I am open and I am honest about my pain and all the events leading up to the loss of my kind, creative, and beautiful Dahlia. Some of this may get emotional. And also, remember, I am not a mental health professional, nor a medical professional, or a legal expert, nor an educator. I'm a mom. By all accounts, we, my husband Nate, my now 16-year-old daughter Sophia, and my forever 12-year-old daughter Dahlia, were a normal family. We encouraged open dialogue without punishment. We always explained our reasons for saying no. We encouraged them to have their feelings. We also made sure, even in elementary school, that they could seek help for mental health without judgment. We did our best not to pressure our girls, only that they gave the best they could at that time. Some days, the best wasn't as good as the best the days before, and that's okay. We encouraged the girls to always have something extracurricular that helped them with their health and fitness, leadership, and creativity. They were always allowed to choose what they wanted to do, but they had to stick with it for as long as the session was for. Sophia has ended up loving swim, soccer, art, and the Girl Scout Honor Guard. Dahlia loved swimming, soccer, art, and robotics. I discovered at an early age that Dahlia had a softer heart than I'd ever seen. Her empathy was off the charts. For example, when they built the new subdivision off of M59 in Latson, she would cry almost every day on the way to and from school that the bugs and the wildlife were losing their homes. That's how sensitive she was. In early January 2024, Dahlia was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder and auditory processing disorder. I think most people have a basic concept of what anxiety is, but the auditory processing disorder is basically that your ears work fine, but the message to the brain doesn't always go the right way. And again, I'm not a medical professional, so that's just a layman's interpretation of the diagnosis. So we sought counseling for her. And man, honestly, that was the best I had ever seen my Dahlia. For the first time ever, she didn't miss an event at a swim meet. She excelled in anything she tried. And the school worked with her medical and mental health professionals for her 504 to help her. And I specifically remember Mr. Johnson, the 6th grade advanced math teacher, going out of his way for her. And he really understood what she needed, and he ran with it. The summer of 24 was great. We had so much fun as a family. There was so many family outings, Girl Scout adventures. She loved to go downtown with her friends to the beach. Lots of tubing on Lake Thompson. We had a few trips to Grand Island and Picture Rocks. She even tried to make a boat to sail from the main area or the mainland to Grand Island. And then, of course, we did our annual trip to Mackinac Island to see Sophia in her position as an honor guard. It really was an amazing summer. But the fall of 2024 brought health issues for Sophia. She became very ill. And in Dahlia's ability to feel exactly how others feel, she was hurting for her sister. Dahlia started not wanting to go to school or robotics, and she just wanted to be at home. She also started having bad stomach aches. We had at least 2 different appointments with her pediatrician in the fall to see what was going on. They found nothing. Looking back, I realized that was probably anxiety showing up in a different way than we'd ever seen before. The week before we lost her was a very tough week for Sophia health-wise. And that Thursday before we lost her, I had injured my back and was in the hospital. So Sunday, when she began arguing with me about going to robotics, I took her electronics away. I did raise my voice at her. But everybody I confided in exactly what words I used, the tone I used, all told me that that's just normal parenting. She went to her room, and I went to mine. 30 minutes later, I went to check on her. She was gone. I started CPR, even though I could tell there was no sign of life. Nate called 911. Sophia and her friend were right there with us. And when I knew she was gone, the only thing I could do was run. I ran. I ran into the street, screaming for help. Neighbors came. A friend who's also a neighbor, he immediately got my best friend on the phone and had her come immediately. So many phone calls were made that day. I remember having to tell Nate's mom and my mom that Dahlia is dead. And then hear their screams. I remember asking, why hasn't the ambulance left yet? No one would answer me. Their faces told me she was gone. The ambulance wasn't needed. My home became a crime scene, and my amazing Dahlia, my best friend, my snuggle buddy, my sweet girl was gone. Why? I don't know. But I can tell you this. She did not have social media. There was no known bullying. She had a solid friend group. She had plans for the future. As a matter of fact, Saturday, she had a pomegranate and it saved half of it so she could eat it Sunday. She did not make it to Sunday night. She did not get to eat her pomegranate. First, Nate and I, Sophia, were held up by Mrs. T. A lot of you know her as she works for the schools and is always photographing or taking photos of various sports and extracurricular activities for the school district. But on November 10th, 2024, she's the only person that helped me grasp what was actually going on. She is a sheriff volunteer who has to tell families of their loss. What a strong and beautiful soul she has to be able to do that. Seeing her and knowing a familiar face is exactly what I needed at that time. Next came Connie and Nico. I have no idea how they got to us. They're both mental health professionals. We were staying at my friend's home for a few days after we lost her because we couldn't even think about returning to the home we've lived in since Sophia was 3 months old. The home that was our favorite place in the world. The home that held my family, all my beautiful memories. Now it was a place where Dahlia died. Connie and Nico were able to help us with emergency counseling. I still can't remember how many times we saw them, but I know they saw us multiple times throughout the initial grieving period. And then I met Scott. He's the funeral home director, and he helped us make choices that no parent ever thinks that they would ever need to make. He helped us with a kind voice, but also backed by knowledge. I remember thinking we only need a small place to have Dahlia's celebration of life, but Scott encouraged us to think about a bigger space. Looking back, I'm so grateful that we did, because that allowed 400 of you from our family, our friends, and our community to grieve with us, and I appreciate that. Thank you, Scott. At this point, we'd been given so many books, pamphlets, resources that our heads were spinning. Our friends who were also grieving helped us sort through it all and find what's next. All three of us found our own therapists. We still see them today, if not weekly, every other week. I feel like it's a major part of why we're still here, and I believe therapy is extremely important. As the world continued on, Thanksgiving, then Christmas, my head started to clear, and I realized we have to do more. So for February, we asked people to do 13 acts of kindness in honor of what would have been Dahlia's 13th birthday. I still cannot believe the outpouring of kindness that was spread in her honor. It's amazing. Mr. Rowley from Highlander Way made a beautiful bulletin board in honor of Dahlia with all the different acts of kindness. The student councils at both the middle schools and the high schools also encouraged students to do acts of kindness. It was beautiful. I saw that we had momentum, and maybe we could do even more. And that's how Love Dahlia started. And don't mind the dogs barking in the background. We wanted to keep Dahlia alive by spreading kindness, encouraging creativity, and making the world beautiful. Love Dahlia allowed me to start making more connections. One of the most influential connections in my journey is when Kelsey Combs, the Howell Public Schools Wellness Coordinator, reached out to me. She was able to give me more background on the district's mental health approach and initiatives. She put me in contact with the Hope Squad and Mr. Eric Schrock, and this is where I found my path. I've been able to work with them on and off over this last year. They even invited me to attend a suicide educational summit in January of 2026, hosted by Kevin Song. I had no idea what Kevin Song was before this, but I spent 2 days in seminars learning about mental health, adolescent brain development, school mental health policies, both pre and postventions. I also learned about the limitations that schools have: funding, resources, legal liabilities. So I was able to see the big picture. And this is something most people don't have the opportunity to see unless they're an educator or a mental health professional. And the big picture is, this is a community issue. And the community needs to work together to tackle this. We have to work together. The blame game is not going to help anyone, and it'll probably make things worse. As we come together after losing 4 cherished members of our community, tonight marks an important step toward health and action. Our children need to know that we are here for them always. They should never feel afraid to speak up, to reach out, or to hear their struggles. This is our moment to show through words and action what truly means to be a community, to stand together, to support one another, and to ensure no one feels alone. The other 3 families have their own story to tell on their own time, if they ever choose to. But know this: one was Sophia's best friend and my Girl Scout since 2014. One was Sophia's friend and swim teammate and breakfast buddy. And one my family didn't know, but they're still part of my community, as our kids and friends all overlapped. So tonight, we are here as a community with our community partners from the school district, local law enforcement, and the mental health community, as well as other organizations that support our kids like Michigan Youth Alive, the Connection Youth Services, and the Hive. So let's start this conversation. Words matter. Kindness matters. I want everyone to think about the words they use when talking about suicide. Nate, Sophia, and I are considered suicide survivors. And as such, we are more aware of how words come across when talking about it. So, again, this is simply from my perspective. Try to use neutral language. For example, when someone says that a person committed suicide, it sounds like a crime. Like the same tone as someone might say they committed robbery. That hurts me. Dahlia would never have committed any crime. When someone says a person made a choice to die, I don't believe there was an actual choice made. Clearly, I didn't know Dahlia 100%, but I know her empathy. And there is no way she would have made a choice that hurt me, her dad, her sister, her family, her friends, and her community. She was the one that would save any bug's life. She would worry about the owls and the bats and the deer and just everyone. She would not have made an actual choice that hurt herself or us. This also kind of applies to choosing to stay. I see that a lot. I think if Dahlia's adolescent brain was fully developed, she definitely would have chose to stay. But I truly believe some wire got crossed and she wasn't actually able to make a choice. We have resources here in our community, but there's room for more. Our goal tonight is to look at the big picture. We have a group here as panelists, and these are the professionals. We're so grateful for their time that they are giving us tonight to share their insight and educate us on the resources that we have in our community. Through conversation and partnership, we hope to learn more and start to see what, if any, gaps exist for support and how we can come together as a community to fill those gaps. Thank you.